In this video, we want to talk about the Lagrange theorem that speaks about number of solutions of a polynomial congruence. So let's see what is the statement of the theorem. It says that if p is a prime and fx is a polynomial of nth degree and we have kept an is not congruent to 0 modulo p, just like in the normal polynomial of the variables where we want to say that there is a polynomial of nth degree. So the coefficient of the nth degree variable should not be equal to 0. So here that should not be congruent to 0 modulo p. Is a polynomial of degree n greater than or equal to 1 with integral coefficients, then the congruence fx is congruent to 0 modulo p. So this means same again like the polynomial, a polynomial is equal to 0 if it has at most n congruent solutions. So similarly it has n incongruent solutions modulo p because we are keeping in the modulo conditions. Now let us prove this theorem by induction on n, and n is the degree of fx because we want to prove that there are at most n incongruent solutions. So the first case that if I take n is equal to 1, and this means what is my polynomial? Polynomial fx, let me to call this as equation number 1. So fx is a1x plus a0, and because now this is the highest degree coefficient, so this means a1 should not be congruent to 0 modulo p as per the condition given in our theorem. Once it is not congruent to 0 modulo p, this means p does not divide a1. If p does not divide a1, so this means I may also consider this as the GCD of a1 and p, this is equal to 1. Now if the GCD of a1 and p is equal to 1, this automatically implies that the linear congruence a1x is congruent to minus a0 modulo p has a unique solution. This has a unique solution. Now, and how do I got this has a unique solution? Because I have considered that the GCD of a and p is equal to 1. So GCD, so we can construct a polynomial from here. And what is the polynomial? a1x congruent to any number a0 modulo p has a solution because the GCD of a1 and p is 1. So 1 divides any number a0. So this means this congruence has a unique solution. So the result is true for n is equal to 1. So suppose result is true for n is equal to k minus 1, and now we want to prove the result for n is equal to k. So if we want to prove the result for n is equal to k, then there are two possibilities that we are looking from the statement of the theorem. Either fx is congruent to 0 modulo p has no solution. This has no solution because we claim that it has at most solution. So if it has at most solution, it is possible that it has 0 solution, and 0 means that it has no solution. So either it has no solution or it has at least one solution. It has at least one solution. And from there we will conclude that at the most it can have n k solutions. And for that at least one solution that we have selected, call it as a. Because it is a solution, so it will have a factor that can divide fx. So if fx is divided by x minus a, then we get fx as x minus a into the remaining quotient plus the remainder. And because we have considered that a is the solution, so this means when I substitute a back in this equation, I'm going to get f of a. This is going to be 0 modulo p. This is same as a minus a qa plus r. This is congruent to r modulo p. So this whole quantity is congruent to r modulo p. Now you can see from here that r comes out to be congruent to 0 modulo p. So once r comes out to be 0 modulo p, so this implies whenever it has one solution, this means fx is same as this is congruent to x minus a qx modulo p. So this will hold. Whenever there is even one solution, so this will hold. Whenever this hold, so this means the qx will have a degree 1 less, and I can apply an induction step onto this. And also let me to assume one more solution. So if B is another solution, if B is another one of incongruent solution, of fx congruent to 0 modulo P, in that case what will happen? In the similar process, FB is congruent to B minus A QB modulo P. So which means now because FP is B, we have considered as another solution, so this is congruent to 0, but A and B are not congruent to each other. These are not congruent to each other because we have considered A is one solution and B is another solution, so they are not same. So this means this quantity is not equal to 0. So what is the possibility? The left hand side is congruent to 0, this is congruent to 0, this is not congruent to 0, so this means this has to be congruent to 0. So this means this implies Qx congruent to 0 modulo P. This should be satisfied. This implies this should be satisfied. So what do we mean by that? This should be satisfied. If it is one solution, then we are satisfying fx, but if we found one more solution, then it satisfies qx. Once it satisfies qx, by induction hypothesis, we have already said, by induction hypothesis, qx has at most k minus 1 incongruent solutions. So this implies fx is congruent to 0 modulo P has at most k incongruent solutions. It has k incongruent solutions. So that proves the Lagrange theorem for the polynomial congruences. Now a very important corollary from there that we can derive from this theorem is, so the corollary says if P is a prime number and D divides P minus 1, then the congruence x to the power D minus 1 congruent to 0 modulo P has exactly D solution. So it talks about how many solutions do we have, not at most, but it talks about exactly D solution. And let's see how do we prove this corollary from the previous theorem. What is given to us is as D divides P minus 1. So if D divides P minus 1, this means P minus 1 is a multiple of D. So this means dk for some k. And in that case, the polynomial x to the power P minus 1 is same as x to the power D minus 1 into f of x. And how I have written this? Let me to take this as an example. Suppose that we consider a prime P is equal to 5. This means P minus 1 is 4. Okay. So we have considered a prime and then I have considered P minus 1, 4, and then I want to write. So we want to write P minus 1 as multiple of some number D into K. So there is a D, there is a divisor of P minus 1, and then we can write P minus 1 as D times K. So this means it is 4. Suppose I consider the divisor as 1 because 1 divide all numbers. So this is 1 into 4. So in that case, K takes the value 4. And then I want to write x to the power P minus 1 as x to the power D minus 1 into f of x. This is what I need to write down. This means x to the power P minus 1 is 4 minus 1. This is same as I have considered divisor as 1. So this means x to the power 1 minus 1. What would be the remaining fx? It would be x cube plus x plus 1. Or if we take, so here I have considered divisor as 1. If we take divisor as 2, how can I write this polynomial x to the power 4 minus 1? I can write this as, in that case it is x square, xd minus 1 will become x square minus 1, and the remaining fx will become x square plus 1. So this way we can keep on finding the fx value also. So if I look back now in this statement, x to the power P minus 1 equal to 1, x to the power D minus 1 fx. So what is the fx? Where fx is again a polynomial of degree d times k minus 1, 1 less, because already we have taken degree t and 1 less I need to take so that my total degree is dk. this plus x to the power d k minus 2 plus so on up till x to the power d plus 1. This has integral coefficients. This has integral coefficients and is of degree d times k minus 1. The total degree, maximum degree is here d times k minus 1, which is same as dk minus d, which is same as, I am just going to replace dk from the main statement, that is p minus 1 minus d. So this means it is p minus 1 minus d. And from the Lagrange theorem, we have just done from the Lagrange theorem, this means fx has at most p minus 1 minus d incongruent solutions. This has at most this much incongruent solutions modulo p. This modulo p. Okay. Now let's name this equation number as 2. So this one that we have constructed, let me to call this as equation number 2. Now if we see this again and if we look at the Fermat's theorem, so what we can say is, by Fermat's theorem, if we know that the GCD of A and P is equal to 1, that means P does not divide A, then A raised to power P minus 1 is always congruent to 1 modulo P. And considering that P is a prime, what are the choices for A? So the choices for A is, this belongs to the set 1, 2 up till P minus 1, because all these numbers have the GCD with P equal to 1. All these numbers GCD with P is 1. So this means I can now write, or I may say this as x to the power p minus 1. So replace a by x in terms of the polynomial minus 1. So take this right hand side 1 on the left hand side, this congruent to 0 modulo p. This has precisely p minus 1 incongruent solutions, p minus 1 incongruent solutions, that is among the set 1, 2, 3 up till so on p minus 1. So these are the solutions. And any solution on the left hand side, any solution. Now look at the equation number 2 again. So I am now rewriting the equation again. Now from 2, we have this equation x to the power p minus 1 is equal to x is d minus 1 into f of x. So we say here, now what we say is, this has p minus 1 incongruent solution. This has p minus 1 incongruent solutions. Okay. This has p minus 1 minus d incongruent solution at most. We just have proved this is at most. Okay. This automatically means that this side will have exactly d solution. This will have exactly d solution. If I assume it takes the at most, if I assume that it takes the maximum incongruent solution, that is p minus 1 by d incongruent solution, then this will have d solution at the most. Now let us prove this up further, one more step. How do this step is very clear. Now any solution of x to the power p minus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p. So any solution of left hand side. Okay. So the left hand side solution should be a solution of x to the power d minus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p. If it is not a solution of fx congruent to 0 modulo p, if it is not a solution of this quantity. So this means, let's take now, we have considered a solution. So this means what it will give me? It will give me 0 congruent to a to the power p minus 1 minus 1. I am considering, let a is the solution. So let a be the solution. So this is satisfying left hand side. This is congruent to, it satisfy the x to the power d minus 1. So this means it satisfy a to the power d minus 1 into f of x. Okay, into f of a. And because we have modulo p, and because we have considered that it does not satisfy fx congruent to 0, this means f of a is not congruent to 0 modulo p. If it is not satisfying, this means p does not divide f of a. And in the similar way, a to the power d minus 1 is congruent to 0 modulo p because it is satisfying. The second quantity satisfies the solution. So this means p divides a to the power d minus 1. So when p divides a to the power d minus 1, from here we can say, now replace this a by any general variable x. We have considered it for one solution. So this means similarly, if there are any others one, so this is always going to satisfy. This must be satisfied. So this means we have total p minus 1 minus the at most, and the remaining is D's solution. So this is what it proves, why we have considered this as exactly D's solution. So whenever we say that this is not a solution of the fx, it will be a solution of x to the power d minus 1, and the maximum degree is p minus 1 by d. So this means it will have exactly D's solution. So x to the power d minus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p, and d divides p minus 1, and where p was the prime, this has exactly D incongruent solution. Now we can look up above theorem, above corollary again, and give this as an alternative proof of Wilson's theorem. Let me to recall what was the Wilson theorem. Wilson theorem says if p is a prime, then p minus 1 factorial is congruent to minus 1 modulo p. This is what the Wilson theorem speaks about. So now let us look at the establishing the proof of Wilson theorem in connection to Lagrange theorem. We consider again a polynomial in a specific way. Consider polynomial fx by fx which is equal to x minus 1, x minus 2, and so on, x minus p minus 1, because I wanted to reach to p minus 1 factorial, minus x to the power p minus 1 minus 1. Now if you open this, if you multiply this side, how many terms are going to be in the power of x, because there are p minus 1 factors. So if I multiply, I'm going to get x to the power p minus 1, and that is going to cancel with this quantity. So this means we are left with a polynomial whose degree is p minus 2, and let me to consider this as the coefficient of the quantity, a p minus 3, x to the power p minus 3, plus so on, plus a1x plus a0. And this means this fx has degree p minus 2. So the highest degree is p minus 2. But we know Fermat's theorem implies that there are p minus 1 integers which are the solution of this side. Okay. So Fermat's theorem implies there are p minus 1 integers 1, 2 up till p minus 1 which are incongruent solutions of the congruence fx congruent to 0 modulo p. Because Fermat's theorem satisfies something like a raised to power p minus 1 congruent to 1 modulo p, and the choices for a can be 1 to p minus 1. So if we substitute a is equal to 1, so if we substitute a1 is equal to 1, so this factor will become 0, and here also this is satisfied. If I take a is equal to 2, so this factor will become 0, and this is also satisfied, and so on. If I take a is equal to p minus 1, so this factor is 0, and this is also satisfied. So that means fx is always going to be congruent to 0 once I substitute these values. So it leads to a contradiction to Lagrange theorem. Why is that? Again, let's see this. Lagrange theorem says that it has degree p minus 2. That means it has at most p minus 2 incongruent solution. But the Fermat's theorem says that it has p minus 1 integers that satisfy this. And also from here we have seen that if we substitute x is equal to 1, x is equal to 2 and x is equal to p minus 1, this factor all becomes 0 and hence this also becomes 0 because it is also satisfied. So on one side it says that we have p minus 1 integers as a solution. On one side it says we have at most p minus 2 incongruent solution because of the degree. So that is why we have a contradiction to Lagrange theorem. So this means this is possible. So or this forces us to take the only possible choice is the coefficient, that is a p minus 2 is congruent to a p minus 3 is congruent to so on, congruent to a1, congruent to a0. They all are coefficient which are congruent to 0 modulo p. So if we take coefficient equal to 0, then automatically whatever be the value for x, the fx is going to be congruent to 0 modulo p. And this holds for any choice of x now. So this implies for any choice of integer x, we may now have x minus 1, x minus 2, up till so on x minus p minus 1 minus x to the power p minus 1 is congruent to 0 modulo p. Now why this is for any choice of x? Because the coefficients are actually, we have considered the coefficient in that polynomial equal to 0. Once the coefficient are 0, we can take any value of x, the polynomial has to become 0. So now take x is equal to 0. If I take x is equal to 0, this means I am getting minus 1, minus 2, up till so on, minus p minus 1, minus of minus 1, taking x equal to 0, this quantity becomes 0 moduli p. Or if I look into this factor, how many times minus 1 is coming? Minus 1 is repeating p minus 1 times into p minus 1 factorial, the remaining terms. So 1, 2 up till p minus 1. They are now p minus 1 factorial. And this negative and negative will become plus 1. So this is congruent to 0 modulo p. Now the result was for any prime p. So let us see. There are two possibilities. One possibility that is p is odd. If p is odd, in this means p minus 1 is even. So if p minus 1 is even, so what will happen now? Minus 1 to the power p minus 1. So this is positive. This is a positive quantity into p minus 1 factorial plus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p. So this becomes p minus 1 factorial is congruent to minus 1 modulo p. So this will come up, which is the Wilson theorem result when we have considered p odd. Let us look at the other case when p is even. So the only even prime is p is equal to 2. If p is equal to 2, this means minus 1 to the power p minus 1, minus 1 to the power p minus 1 into p minus 1 factorial plus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p will become, you will have minus 1, p minus 1, p is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1 factorial, and then we have plus 1. This is congruent to 0 modulo p and p is 2. So this implies it is minus 1 plus 1, which is 0 modulo 2. In that case also the result is true, but we wanted to write a general result which will come up here, because for all prime except for 2 it is obviously true, and for the remaining prime this becomes now our result, which is the Wilson's theorem.